Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to bring you an interview with Bruce Smith, CEO of Radius Resources. At the beginning of the discussion, pardon me, I have to disclaim the fact that I'm conflicted in this. I am a shareholder of Radius, and I've been a shareholder of Radius on and off for a very long time. I'm also personally friendly with the founder, Simon Ridgway, having done a lot of business with Simon over the last 2 decades. So forewarned, you all is forearmed. Bruce, I'm hoping I see New Zealand in the background. Welcome to the North American audience.
Hi, Rick. Yes, looking out at the ocean there. I live on the Coromandel Peninsula, where there's a lot of mines historically, but only one big one today. So, yep, I'm from New Zealand. Well, thanks for having me on the call. Nice to see you.
A pleasure to be with you. Let's begin with a little bit of overview of Radius. The company's been around for a fairly long time, and I describe it as sort of a hybrid prospect generator, which you've been successful at for many years, but also in a sense a merchant bank, on occasion being involved in the formation of affiliate companies using your properties as a base. Is that, from your point of view, an accurate summary?
That's true. We're opportunistic in what we try and do. My goal is always to find mines and find them any way you can. And but we've done a lot of different things over time and creative ways to make to get money to explore. We haven't raised public capital or diluted our shareholders for 10 years or longer. So you've got to find ways to get money to drill without necessarily drilling yourself. So we've both started companies. Volcanic is the most recent, where we put some of our assets into a new company, both within our own stable, and we've also put money into other people's companies at different times to make money. We put money into a project in Mexico a few years ago called Cerro Las Manitas, and we made a couple of $1 million off that and kept ourselves funded without diluting our shareholders. So, but our main goal is to find mines. That's what we're always about.
As a shareholder, I'm delighted that you've gone 10 years without diluting my equity stake. And of course, I've always been there to support you finding mines. My assertion has always been, with regards to Radius, that it's simply too cheap relative to its property portfolio. So let's you and I go about demonstrating that. What's the approximate market cap today?
Approximate market cap today is about $20 million. We've just had a little bit of a dip with these recent markets, and we were up around 30 a month ago.
And for the record, that's Canadian dollars, correct?
That's Canadian dollars, correct. Yes.
Right. And approximately how much cash is in the company, and what is the value of your securities holdings in other companies?
We've got 1.5 million cash still in the bank. We've got payments due from Pan American Silver in a month or two that will top that up. And we've also got $3.5 million in stocks in other companies. So we're not needing to dilute our shareholders in the near future, and we don't expect to do so.
So one could argue that you have $5 million in cash and securities, meaning that the enterprise value of your company is less than 15 million Canadian dollars, or put in perspective, more like 11.5 million US dollars. Now, let's take our attendees through what they get for 15 million Canadian dollars. Let's talk about your property portfolio. The one that really got me to write the big new check was, of course, your joint venture with Pan American. So let's start with that. Describe that property and describe the nature of the relationship between yourselves and Pan American on that project.
The Pan American deal, we found a property called Amalia. Radius is good at making grassroots discoveries, I would say. We're good at getting out there, finding new things, developing the drill targets, acquiring the concessions, getting the drill permits, getting ready to drill. And we did that about 5 years ago, with a property in Chihuahua called Amalia. We were looking at how to fund that, and at the time we were drilling in in Nevada, and Radius does drill its own projects. And I'd found that, and I took it to a friend of mine at Pan American. They liked it a lot, and they offered to fund the drilling. So we started out with a 65, 45 joint venture where we were the operators. It's an epithermal, high-grade gold silver system, classic Sierra Madre systems. The Sierra Madre of northern Mexico has produced, a billion ounces of gold and billions of ounces of silver from, there's probably 25, 30 mines still in production in that belt, and it's an amazing belt. So we started drilling the Amalia structure, and we had some phenomenal, it wasn't till hole 9 that we hit, but then we started getting some phenomenal hits on a structure called the San Pedro target. We hit 44 meters at 12 grams gold and 309 silver on hole 10. So 44 meters thick at 12 grams. That's was one of the best drill holes drilled that year anywhere in the world in gold and silver. Since then, we've gone on. It's a big property. It's got 3 main vein systems. They go for kilometers. They're very wide, and we've been drilling almost constantly for 4 years now. The second target we drilled was California. We also hit big, high, wide grades there. 26 meters at 2.59 and 353 silver. So that's 2.59 gold. And we drilled that across a kilometer. It's wide open. Lots of good grades in there. And then just recently, we've been drilling on a new target called El Cuervo. And we've also hit very wide intersections. One of the first decent intersections on El Cuervo was 96 meters wide at 167 silver, 0.5 gold. That's a huge width for an epithermal system. So we've got these 3 targets. They're all building ounces. We expect to have a resource out probably later this year. Pan American is now the operator, and Pan American being one of the largest silver producers in the world, they're not our partners on this because they think it's a small property. They are there for a world-class discovery, and I think we're well on the way to making that. We already know that we've got what I would consider a small mine, but do we have a Pan American world-class size mine? We're on the way to finding it, I think.
And the nature of the fiscal arrangement now, are they still carrying you, or are you paying your share now?
No, they are still carrying us. So they're earning into their 65%. They've paid all the exploration all along. The recent exploration is relatively expensive because it's steep, and we use a helicopter to get the rig in. And that will continue until June, when they have to pay us a $700,000 US, and that's about our annual budget. So that'll keep us running for a year, so we don't have to dilute again. And then it's a 35 joint venture, and they can elect to go to 75 by fully funding the pre-feasibility. So we could be asked to contribute at 65-35. They could go to feasibility and take another 10%. Or the other thing we can do is just not contribute at all and dilute to a 3% NSR, of which they can buy back 1% for $1 million. So we've got a few options, and we're in a position that we can contribute if we want to. We've still got some rounds of drilling to go, and we're in a really exciting phase of drilling. I've actually seen some of the cross sections coming out of the latest holes, and I think that we're going to get some bonanza wide grades again. So I've got another month or 2 to make that decision, but we're thinking about it carefully, and we're talking to Pan American. We would, of course, like them to make us a good offer to buy us out and hold the NSR, and we'll see about that. It's not far away.
Let's move on. It's very rare that a company with $15 million in enterprise value has two discoveries, but perhaps you could talk about your success with Volcanic as well.
Yeah, the Volcanic. Historically, Simon Ridgway's companies have always been working in Guatemala. He made the discovery of Cerro Blanco, that is currently operated by Bluestone in Lundin. He made that discovery about 26 years ago and has had a constant presence in Guatemala. And Radius Gold was the second company to, after Simon sold Cerro Blanco to initially to Mar West, and then Mar West was the name of the company, was eventually mined by Goldcorp, one of the deposits he found. From that stage, Radius went into the company and we acquired 350,000 hectares of applications and some licenses, and we've had those and been working on them on and off for a while. But a couple of years ago, Pan American Silver decided to buy what was called the Escobal project, paying almost $1 billion to acquire one of the world's great primary silver deposits that's in Guatemala. It's not in production. Guatemala has a checkered and difficult political history, but with Pan American entering the country, and then Bluestone Lundin family supports the Bluestone company, and they are developing a project called Cerro Blanco, which was an underground deposit, which they're just converting to an open pit deposit. It's a very high grade gold silver epithermal system. With Lundin put a couple of $100 million into there, and Guatemala got a new government. It was time to start work in Guatemala again. So we put the assets we had in Guatemala into a company called Volcanic, and Simon raised almost $12 million to start drilling. We've been drilling there for the last year, and we've been having some phenomenal results. We've been drilling on a project called Holly. The vein is called La Pena, and we're getting average thicknesses around 10 grams, average grade average thicknesses around 10 meters, average grades up above 10 grams, and some spectacular holes. Hole number 27, one of the last ones drilled, 3.7 meters wide at 100 grams gold and 371 silver. The latest hole we published is kind of average, 10 meters wide, 6.6 grams gold, 65 silver. And we're about to put out a resource on that. I think it'll surprise people how good it is. I think it'll be in excess of 500,000 ounces, in excess of 10 grams. So that's in excess of $1 billion gross metal value, and it's held in very little tons. We've had some community relations problems there, but what we need to do is demonstrate to the community how valuable this project is and what they can expect to achieve. Because in the past, we've kind of said if we find a mine, there'll be jobs and money, but now we've found something that can be mined, a truck. We need to be more specific about how much we can pay. How many schools and hospitals do you want? So we're working through the resource at the moment. That should be out very soon, and then we'll follow that up with a scoping study, PEA, just to mine those million or so tons and truck it down the road to either Bluestone or Pan American's plant, or there's another plant in Guatemala that's possibly available. So no plant required, and $1 billion gross metal value probably. So that's another discovery, and we've got some other projects in Guatemala that are spectacular, but are currently in application. We're in the process of getting those granted. So I think that's, again, another small mine we've discovered, and we don't know yet whether it'll be a big one. It's wide open for exploration, so we'll continue to drill in the near future.
What other projects do you have in the company that excite you that I might not be as familiar with as I am those first two?
Well, there's a couple of special ones. There's one in Guatemala that we're trying to get granted called Matawa Norte, and I have never seen so much visible gold in my life. I've never seen drill assays like it. And that is spectacular. It is an orogenic system. It's currently an application. We're working as hard as we can to get it granted soon, and I'm sure that will come on. And then you'll see some assays like you've never seen before. We also, but closer to actual development work, is a project in Mexico that we found called Plata Verde. It's a historic silver mining camp, I would say, that hadn't been worked on for probably 100 years. A very unusual silver deposit. Again, no companies ever worked on it. We found it, acquired it from the Mexican owners. Large-scale underground silver mines. And that project you can see the photos on our website. That there's holes in the ground, cavities on ore chutes that are 100 meters long by 50 meters wide and 30 meters high that were mined by pick and shovel and black powder explosives around about 120 years ago, and it's never been drilled. And we are about to sign a deal. I've just crossed the I's and dotted the T's on it, and we just got to convert it to Spanish with one of the largest silver producers in the world. And again, we're not getting in small partners on this because people believe that has huge potential. So you can see not only by the deals that we do, but by the quality of our partners, what they think of our projects. Pan American Silver is doing Amalia. They're one of the biggest silver producers in the world, and you'll see that happen again on the Plata Verde project. And then there's one last one. Well, there's lots more, but there's one that's nearly ready to go, and that's called the Maricela project. It's located right beside one of the world's biggest primary copper deposits called Cananea in Mexico. It's a giant porphyry with more than 1 billion tons of resources and reserves. And it's in a great district, but those big copper companies didn't look for gold, silver veins, and the big copper porphyries usually have gold, silver veins associated on the margins, and had been ignored by the copper companies. We grabbed it, have developed it. We're trying to get drill permits. It's a series of veins that cover a couple of kilometres, multiple veins, stockworks, and I believe it's an open pit target with potential for 100 million ounce kind of size potential. It has never been drilled. And we're just getting the drill permits, and we expect to move forward on that, get it drilled this year with a partner, or depending on how the markets go. If the markets are down at the moment, but if they turned around and got a better share price, we would probably raise some money and drill it ourselves. But we have options on how we drill it.
Bruce, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for your continued support of the Rural Investment Media Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I personally have hundreds of thousands of reasons to wish you every possible success. As I say, I am a shareholder and have been for a very long time. Thank you again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patronage.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll look forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Fantastic.
All right. You have a good day.